FYF Sports, and we back with another video, man. You know, I was having an interesting conversation, man. It was this morning. This conversation was actually interesting until more cap for the 90s started to poke his little head into the conversation. Again, I don't know why fans of 90s basketball continually create narratives and lies about the era. All right, so actually this morning I was on LB's channel, L.B. Make sure y'all go subscribe to LB, man. He's doing a good job. Again, the man comes with exclusive content on a daily basis. And he definitely is faithfully doing these live shows every morning. So again, I appreciate the work that he's putting in. But today, again, man, you know, LB, just like some of the other guys on this panel right here, they have a lot of hate in their heart for this era. And so we were in a conversation. Today. We were just kind of talking about, you know, different, you know, mainly we actually started off talking about Ewing and why Ewing wasn't necessarily a superstar of the 90s. I feel that Ewing was an all-star. I don't feel he was a superstar. Again, that's debatable. I don't blame them for taking up that argument again. We know that they're trying to hold on to the stars of their era. But it was the statement that they made after this conversation that was just blasphemous. And it was blasphemous on a number of levels, especially because it's not just provable with video, but it's also provable with statistics, overall stats, and a number of other things that just clearly showed it. So as you can see with the title of the video, we're going to be talking about Steph Curry versus Reggie Miller. But before we get into just breaking that down, I want you guys to hear their breakdown on this. And this is why, you know, when I was in this video, I asked these guys a clear-cut question. My question was, I need to know exactly. That way there's no confusion. That way you can't go back and retract the statement, because I knew this was going to be an easy exposed video. But I clearly asked these guys, who is the better shooter, Steph Curry or Reggie Miller? And you guys are going to be surprised to hear the answer.
Because when you have bad games at the worst possible times, that defines your legacy right there.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let me ask you this.
Steph Curry is 0 for 8 in the clutch. Isn't he still the greatest shooter of all time?
That's debatable.
But
you know what?
And
that's why it's debatable.
Do you know?
It's not debatable. It's Steph Curry's the greatest shooter of all time.
That's why it's debatable.
Bro, Lamont, shooting doesn't only involve threes, okay? There's also
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
You talking to somebody who actually does this.
Take mid-range shots.
Like I said, so stop with that. Like I said, textbook talk with me, man. Come on, man. You can talk.
That's facts, though, man. That's facts. This is where, you know, again, when I said Steph Curry was the greatest shooter of all time, I didn't say he was the greatest three-point shooter of all the time. I didn't say he was the greatest mid-range shooter of all time. I said he was the greatest shooter of all time. So I don't need anybody to come behind me and say it's not just threes. No, I understand the game. I understand the game not just from the aspect that Steph Curry shoots a lot of threes and makes them at a high rate. That's not. Steph Curry, as it stands right now, is the greatest shooter of all time. He's only played 11 seasons, and he's the greatest shooter of all time. And it's not even close. And his numbers, at this point in time, his numbers are so great right now, they can only really go down. And if he makes them go up any more than what they are, that just puts a stamp on the case even more. But this is not anything that's arguable. This is not arguable by a long shot. The man is the greatest shooter of all time right now. And there's no debate. And again, I'm not even going to get on the fact of how he scores the ball. because, again, we know he scores the ball more than just from the three-point line. So these guys, again, because these guys, like Gideon, because he only uses Google and ESPN highlights, he thinks that I'm only talking about the three-point shot. But because I understand Steph Curry's game, how he's able to get into the lane, how he's able to score in the mid-range, how he's able to score right at the three-point line, how he's able to score beyond the three-point line. This is what makes him the greatest shooter of all time, Gideon. So again, Gideon, go actually just use the eye test. Go watch the game. Get out the books, get out the encyclopedias. Again, those things are going to steer you the wrong way. Now, if you want to come on my show and debate that, Gideon, my homie right here, FYF Fred, he's getting highly upset with you because you keep ducking the smoke. We've given you a number of invitations to bring you, your encyclopedia, and all of Google with you to debate some of these things that you say. And you failed to show up. Again, like I said, I normally don't like going down to the G League to debate people. And I was willing to do that with you. I was willing to go down to the G League, and you passed on that opportunity. So because you passed on that opportunity, because you did not want to come to this show to get debunked live and direct in person, I'm just going to do it right now. And again, it's easy to quote stuff that you read on the internet. But again, you got to use your subjective opinion. You got to use the eye test, and you got to have some type of understanding of the game. And not just the understanding of the game from watching it, but you also got to have an understanding and respect for the game from playing it. And I see that that's where you really lack your basketball knowledge. This is why you sound like a robot when you're talking.
Normal with me.
Bro, shooting doesn't
Hey, Gideon. So who's the greatest shooter of all time, Gideon, in your eyes?
The greatest shooter ever? That's very tough, though. It really is.
Man. Let's get.
It's Larry Bird, Reggie Miller, Ray Allen. It's tough.
Come on.
It's true. It's not. It doesn't. Okay. Here's what
you got Reggie Miller.
Lamont,
You just said it wasn't about all threes, and all Reggie
all
did
right,
was shoot.
but Miller can hit it from
and he
there.
shot catch and shoot threes.
Larry Bird.
Reggie only shot 6 threes one time per game in one season. That's it. Everything else was under that. What are you talking about?
All right, y'all.
How the fuck?
Stop it.
You sound crazy, dude. You don't even know basketball.
Hey, who's your greatest shooter of all time?
You talking about?
Hey, who's your greatest shooter of all time?
You didn't know what?
Who is your greatest shooter of all time?
Reggie Miller. Arguably Reggie Miller, Ray Allen, or Steph Curry.
So he's clearly stated, this guy with the A. We going to call him anonymous because don't nobody know who he is. He don't have his channel. He don't have a photo up. We don't know who he is. We can't identify this man. We just know that he comes on the internet. He'll come on Ticket TV or he'll come on LB's channel anonymously and just say random things that he cannot justify with actual facts. So again, this guy with the A right here, we've already exposed him on a number of things before in the past. Just go check out some of the past videos. But because he's anonymous, we don't know who the hell he is. He's anonymous. Now, other guys on this panel like Gideon knew what was coming. Gideon knew that the ether was going to be coming soon. He knew that this was a video I was going to drop. So we see that Gideon just left a white circle right here. So if you look at his name right here, Gideon just left a white circle. He didn't want to be identified. All right. So there's an MIA out for Gideon right now. He wanted to hide. He wanted to hide from this ether. We got Anonymous, the guy with the A, who just says random things but cannot justify it with facts. And then we just got LB right up here at the top. You know, ever since the cops came to LB's door, man, he just ain't been the same, man. I don't know what's going on with. Ever since the cops knocked on his door, his basketball perspective got locked up when the cops left, and they ain't let that motherfucker out yet. So, what we're gonna do, man, is we're gonna hear a little bit more out because I wanted to stop it right there because I think LB also made a legitimate statement on this too. I asked these guys specifically, who is the greatest shooter of all time? And then because they got so much hate for this era, because they don't want to admit that a player from this era is actually greater than one of those guys from the 90s, they try to come up with every reason in the world to say that Steph Curry is not the greatest shooter of all time all the numbers, all the analytics, the eye test will tell you that he is. So we're going to hear them out for a few more seconds before we get to straight debunking these guys.
Or Larry Bird.
No, give me one name.
Between them
Give me
three.
one name so I can lock it in.
Nigga, it's arguable.
Let's
Nigga. That's the whole point. It's
Hold up,
arguable.
everybody. Hold
You
up.
can't give niggas one name when it's arguable.
Hey, hold up. I got a donation I got to announce. And shout out to Jacob Jennings for his Cash App donation. He says, for lunch with me again. Hey, man, I appreciate those Wingstop you got me yesterday, homie. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate your contribution to the channel. All right. Now, when it comes to the whole Reggie Miller dynamic, year by year, right? The year that he shot the most threes was 6.6 in 96-97 season. If you put it, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, come on. And
He's a better shooter than Steph
his
Curry.
rookie year, he averaged 2.1 3-point attempts. The next year, 3.3.
Is he a better shooter than Steph Curry?
Next
Yeah.
year,
Like I said.
3.9. This guy ain't average. Man,
I don't know.
look, if he's
I'm asking the
shooting
whole
threes,
panel. I need a
look, if he's
consensus on
shooting
this.
threes
Is
now,
Reggie Miller a
the
better
way they
shooter
did
than
back-
Steph Curry?
if he's shooting threes,
LB,
if
is
he
Reggie
got
Miller a
the
better shooter
ability
than
to
Steph
shoot
Curry?
threes back then, like they do now, you know how
LB, is he a better shooter than Steph
Curry?
Curry? Is he a better shooter than Steph Curry?
Yeah, and and the whole totality of it, yeah.
Yes. I think so.
Oh my God.
All right, so now we got a consensus across the board. We got Gideon, the bogus encyclopedia, saying that Reggie Miller is a better shooter than Steph Curry. We got Anonymous with the A saying that Reggie Miller is a better shooter than Steph Curry. And then LB just made his official statement. Reggie Miller is a better shooter than Steph Curry. So you know what we do here, man. You know, I'm not even going to waste too much more time. Again, now we have everybody's official statements. Everybody's official statement is locked in. We let the video ride. You know, I'm not trying to finesse what they're saying because I know they like to say I edit my videos. Again, that's not edited. That's exactly what y'all said. So what we're going to do is, you know, we take you to the drawing board, man. We take you to the drawing board. And y'all seen this before. Whenever it's time to get to debunking people, it's time to get to the drawing board right here. And this is the drawing board I like to use right here. This is the fact checker. The fact checker right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a factual breakdown. And not just their shooting numbers, but just their overall game. Their overall game, their overall effectiveness, where they're going to go down in the history of NBA basketball. So we're going to quickly break this down because this is going to be an easy debunk. This is going to be an easy debunk. So now we're talking about Stephen Curry and Reggie Miller. So we're going to start off first with just championships. So the one thing we know is that Steph Curry was able to lead his team to the championship. You know, whether you want to discredit the two that he won with KD, okay, let's say we take away the two that he won with KD. He was able to lead his team by himself to one of those championships. That's Steph Curry. Reggie Miller, unfortunately, in the 90s, did not lead his team. He led his team to 0 championships. The excuse that fans will give you is that he ran into Jordan. That's their excuse. But again, there were some years in the 90s where Jordan wasn't around. Jordan did retire for 2 years. And the Indiana Pacers still did not win a championship during those years. So, and again, even later on, that might have been 2000, they also made another championship game that Reggie Miller failed in against the Lakers. So, again, Reggie Miller, 0 championships, was not able to lead his team to anything relevant. Now, Steph Curry's only played 11 seasons. And now, being that Steph Curry's only played 11 seasons and Reggie Miller played 7 more, Reggie Miller played 18 total. That's going to play a major part. That's going to be a major implication against Reggie Miller because in 18 seasons, has he been able to do as much as Steph Curry has in 11 seasons? And we're not just talking about scoring the ball, shooting the ball. We're talking about across the board as an overall player. Again, this is aside from the fact that Steph Curry is a far superior shooter than Reggie Miller. And I'm going to break that down why. Obviously, playoffs play. Reggie Miller was in 15. Steph Curry 7. Now, All-Star games. Steph Curry's only been in the league 11 years. He's made 6 All-Star games. Reggie Miller was in the league 18 years and only made 5 All-Star games. And what's so surprising about that is Reggie Miller didn't have a lot of seasons where he was injured. Reggie Miller was considered the Iron Man of the league. A lot of these seasons he played a lot of these seasons he played the majority of the game. So he had a lot of ample opportunities to make all-star games, and he wasn't able to get it done in his era. So again, 18 years, only 5 all-star games. Steph Curry is already at 6 in only 11 years. Again, a major implication. Now, we know the MVP count goes to Steph Curry. Steph Curry's been, had 2 years where he was the best player in basketball, 2 MVPs, the only unanimous MVP in NBA history. All NBA teams, all NBA first teams, Steph Curry's been on 3. Reggie Miller made 0 all NBA first teams. For as great as he is, and for people in the 90s to elevate him to superstar status, this man never made an all NBA first team, even during the years when Jordan retired, where if you want to say that Jordan took up that shooting guard spot, well, Reggie Miller didn't even make all NBA first team when Michael Jordan retired. So let's not throw Michael Jordan into the fray and say he didn't make it because of Michael Jordan. Now, Reggie Miller only made all NBA second and third team 3 times in his career. Curry has made all NBA first or second team 6 times in his career. So with regards to just dominating your era, being the best player in your era, Steph Curry has already beaten him out by that. And Steph Curry's only going to add to these numbers as he continues to play. Now, scoring leader, Steph Curry's definitely been the scoring leader once. Reggie Miller never did that. Steals leader, Steph Curry was the steals leader once. Reggie Miller did not play a lick of defense. So Steph Curry has him beat out there. So with accolades, Steph Curry has a far superior resume with regards to just accolades alone. Now we're going to go to regular season stats. Now Steph Curry's average per game is 23.5. Reggie Miller's 18.2. Now, what some people will say is, well, towards the end of Reggie Miller's career, he didn't play as much, so his averages went down. Okay, I'll give you that. This is why we're not really going to rely on these averages too heavily. But again, it is a testament to Curry. Curry's been able to maintain a level of superiority because, again, Steph Curry's first few years in the league were not as strong. So essentially, it necessarily balances itself out. Now with rebounds per game, Steph Curry, as a small guard, was averaging more rebounds than the 6'7" Reggie Miller. Again, what's going on, Reggie Miller? Only 3 rebounds a game at 6'7". Guys like LB, guys like Anonymous down here with the A, guys like Gideon will tell you if you're 6'7" in the league, you should be averaging 10 rebounds a game. That's the standard they hold Draymond Green to, and he's only 6'5". All right, assists per game. Obviously, we know Steph Curry's the far superior playmaker, better ball handler, 6.6 assists a game. Reggie Miller, only 3. Steals per game, I would give Steph Curry the edge as the defender. Not just because of the steals per game, but just because of the effort. Again, Reggie Miller's effort on defense wasn't always there, but and then that really shows in the overall numbers. But Steph Curry at 1.7 steals a game, Reggie Miller only 1.1. Blocks per game, they're dead even. Neither one of them were superior shot blockers. Now, we're going to look at overall stats really quick. And again, these overall stats right here don't necessarily mean much, but they do tell the story of a player's career. Steph Curry has already amassed over 16,000 points per game in his career. Reggie Miller, 25,000 for his career. It looks like Steph Curry's he's on his way to blow 25,000 out the water. So at the end of Steph Curry's career, he's going to surpass Reggie Miller in overall points per game, even if he doesn't play 18 seasons. So Steph Curry's going to pass that number up by a long shot, probably by year 14 or 15. We're looking at total rebounds per game. Now, Reggie Miller played 7 more seasons than Steph Curry. And Steph Curry is only 1,000 rebounds less than Reggie Miller. So we know that as far as effort, as far as rebounding, Steph Curry's intensity, as far as rebounding the ball, is a lot more actually than Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller only amassed 4,000 rebounds in an entire 18-year career. Steph Curry's amassed over 3,000 in 11 seasons. So he's going to blow Reggie Miller out with regards to rebounds. Steph Curry in 11 seasons has already passed Reggie Miller in assists. Reggie Miller only 4,000 assists for his career. Steph Curry over 4,500. And he's going to, again, Reggie Miller was not the playmaker, was not the ball handler, could not do anything close to what Steph Curry could do with the ball. So again, this tells it all right here. What type of player are we dealing with? When it comes to total steals, obviously Steph Curry is going to be the better defender there. Steph Curry in 11 years has almost the same amount of steals that Reggie Miller accumulated in 18 years. So again, with regards to defensive IQ and defensive intensity, Steph Curry has the slight edge there, amassing 1,200 steals in 11 seasons. Now with blocks per game, again, this is a relevant stat total because we're not talking about elite shot blockers here. Now, what we're going to do is, again, for these two right here, the tell of the tape is going to be in the percentages. The percentages are going to expose a lot right here. Now, the one thing that we know about Steph Curry is he shoots the ball a lot. As this guy Anonymous down here stated, there have been seasons where Steph Curry averaged over 10 3-pointers a game, over 10 threes a game. All right, so we know the one thing that's for certain is that Steph Curry shoots more threes. He shoots more mid-range shots. He shoots more layups than Reggie Miller ever took. So normally, if a player shoots more over a long period of time, their percentages usually go down a little bit. What's crazy about Steph Curry, because he's so great of a shooter, he shoots far more than Reggie Miller ever shot, but all of his percentages are higher. Steph Curry's field goal percentage, we're talking about 2-point shots, you guys. 2-point shots. His field goal percentage for his career is higher than Reggie Miller's. When we look at 3-point percentage, Steph Curry shoots an unbelievable amount of threes. And not just the unbelievable amount of threes, he shoots an unbelievable amount of difficult threes. We're talking about at 40 feet, at 30 feet. All right, we've seen him take these shots. We've seen him make these shots. So not only is Steph Curry taking more threes, he's taking more difficult threes at being an undersized guard in the NBA, but he's hitting them at a higher percentage than Reggie Miller. As guy Anonymous down here stated in the video, Reggie Miller only shoots about 6 threes a game. He's shooting them under 40% for his career at 39%. Steph Curry takes more threes, he takes more difficult threes, he takes more bad shots, and he makes them at a higher rate. He's making threes at a 43% clip. There are good shooters in the NBA that struggle just to shoot at a 40% clip from the three-point line. There are some players in the NBA that are considered good shooters shooting 38% from the three-point line. Steph Curry is taking and making tough shots, hitting them at a 43% rate. That's unbelievable for his size and stature, doing that in the NBA today. And with a player like Steph Curry, we know exactly what he's going to do night in and night out. Teams know what to expect. They know that he's going to be shooting the ball a lot. And he's still making these shots at an extremely high and efficient rate, shooting the three-pointer at a 43% clip. Reggie Miller shot 39% for his entire career. That's going to be these two numbers right here, field goal percentage and three-point percentage, are the biggest. They're the biggest spike in these guys' arguments. So we have LB, we have the guy with the A, Anonymous, we have Gideon, who all claim that Reggie Miller is a better shooter than Steph Curry. But the numbers don't lie. The numbers tell it all. And the one thing that you cannot say is Steph Curry shoots the ball far more. Normally when you shoot the ball more, your percentages go down because you probably have more misses. Not only is Steph Curry shooting the ball more, he's making more shots. The only reason that happens is because you're the better shooter. You're the better scorer. And we're not talking about a Gore. He's not a Derrick Rose type. He's not getting to the basket every time. Steph Curry's a jump shooter. He's making and taking tough jump shots, not just from the mid-range. He's also doing it from the three-point line, at a far superior rate than Reggie Miller ever did. So now we're going to just go to overall points per game. Now, Reggie Miller's best points per game season was at 24.6 points per game in 1990. Again, it's just another season where he was just amassing points that really didn't amount to much. His team didn't do much. They didn't win a championship. They didn't get to the finals. They didn't get to the Eastern Conference Finals. So again, these are a lot of empty stats. It was a great season, but they were empty stats. They didn't really amount to anything. Steph Curry averaged 30.1 a game, and his team was great. All right, so again, that's the difference right there. Now, Steph's best rebounding year was at 5.4 rebounds a game, far superior to Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller looks as if he didn't try on the rebounding end. Again, what we know is Reggie Miller was an offensive player, not a defensive player, not a rebounding specialist, not any of that. Now, Steph Curry is not only the Warriors, he's not only one of the Warriors' best scorers and players, he's also one of their best playmakers, averaging 8.5 assists per game in his best assisting season. Steals per game, he did lead the league in that at 2.1 steals per game. Now, again, I'm not going to lie, steals per game is not a metric that you can really use to determine who's the better defender, but it does at least give you an inclination to effort. You know, being able to play passing lanes, being able to accumulate 2 steals per game for an entire season takes effort and energy. And we saw Reggie Miller wasn't able to do that at an elite level. Now, blocks per game, again, another irrelevant stat. Now what we're also going to talk about is we're going to talk about playoff stats. Playoff stats. You know, because these guys, the first thing they say is, again, because they have no other argument, the only way you can diminish Steph Curry's shooting game is, the only way you can diminish it is you talk about the single flaw that he's had with regards to shooting. He's been 0 for 8 in the clutch in important moments in the playoffs. That's important. That is definitely important. But at the end of the day, regardless of any of the failures that he's had in the clutch, he was still able to lead his team to a championship without KD and without any other superstars on the team. And even at that point in time, he was the only all-star on that roster. Clay was still developing, Draymond was still developing, and then you had a whole bunch of role players on that team. So he led his team, regardless of what he's done in the clutch, he was able to lead his team to a championship. But now when we look at stats per game in the playoffs, obviously Steph Curry, 26.5 points per game, Reggie Miller, 20.6. So Reggie did have a 2-point jump in his points per game going into the playoffs. But if you look across the board, all of his averages, other than scoring, dropped when they entered the playoff. Steph Curry, 5.4 rebounds a game, which is great for a guard at his size. Reggie Miller, rebounding numbers went down in the playoffs at 2.9. Assists per game for Steph Curry, great playmaker, 6.3 assists per game. Reggie Miller only 2.5. His assist numbers went down in the playoffs. Steals per game, Steph Curry 1.6. So Steph Curry essentially was doing the same thing he was doing defensively in the regular season. In the playoffs, Reggie Miller only 1 steal per game in the playoffs. And again, we know blocks is an irrelevant stat total. So then we got their total playoff stats. But what I want to go to is I want to go to their total, their field goal percentages in the playoffs. Because again, field goal percentages matter. Field goal percentages do matter. All right, now what we see here is field goal percentages. All right, so we got 45% from the field in the playoffs for Steph Curry to Reggie Miller's 44%. So again, the percentages tell the truth of the story right here. Steph Curry shoots the ball more, and he has a higher field goal percentage than Reggie Miller in the playoffs. Enough said right there. So if you shoot the ball more and you shoot it at a higher percentage, you're the better shooter. With regards to the three-point shot, in the playoffs, Steph Curry shoots the three-point shot more than Reggie Miller, especially in the playoffs. Steph Curry hits more threes, and he makes them at a higher percentage than Reggie Miller in the playoffs. Steph Curry shooting them at 40%, Reggie Miller is at 39%. Now, when we have free throw percentages, they're both great shooters, but when we look at the percentages, Steph Curry shoots more free throws. He's hitting more free throws at a higher percentage than Reggie Miller over the course of the entire playoff career, with Steph Curry shooting them at 90%, while Reggie Miller is at 89% for his career in the playoffs. So again, these stats are very indicative of who's the better shooter. And we can also go down. We can also go down and look at best playoff performances. Now, Reggie had a great playoff in 1993. He had a great playoff performance in 1993. He was averaging 31 a game. Now, only thing I remember from 1993 is that the Chicago Bulls won the championship that year. That's what I remember from 1993. Nobody remembers what Reggie Miller did. I can't remember if that was a first round exit or a second round exit. I honestly don't even think that they matched up with the Bulls. So I'm assuming that the team that put them out was not a Jordan-led team. I'm almost positive of that in 1993. So we can't say that it was Jordan's fault. That wasn't Jordan in the way right there. That was, 90s fans, what they'll do is when a player fails, as opposed to just saying the player didn't get the job done, they'll blame that player's teammates. So I'm assuming that guys in the 90s, from the 90s, or these guys down here in panels like this, like LB, the guy with the A and Gideon, they'll say, well, he didn't have a very good team around him. That's why. See, and it's these excuses right here. Again, it's these excuses right here that fans of this era are getting tired of hearing. Because whenever a player in the 90s fails, it's because of their teammates. But whenever a player in this era fails, it's because they're not good enough. Again, you guys got to stay consistent. If you're going to keep the same energy with players of this era, at least keep the same energy with players of your own era. All right? And then it will show us that you're not being biased. But when you start to say stuff like that, you really, really look extremely biased, and your points don't hold any validity. So we're going to go down. Again, rebounds per game. Obviously, in every other statistical category, Steph Curry beats out. For best playoff series, Steph Curry beats out Reggie Miller. All right. So when we look at overall player, the best overall player is going to easily be Steph Curry. The best overall shooter, according to the percentages, is going to be Steph Curry. And I even glossed over these stats right here. These are their total playoff stats right here. These are their total playoff stats. All right, this is Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller played 18 years in the NBA. 18 years in the NBA. Reggie Miller made the playoffs 15 times. All right. Hold on. Before we come back to this, we're going to make sure we have the numbers right. We're going to make sure we have the numbers right. So Reggie Miller made the playoffs 15 times. He made the playoffs 15 out of the 18 years that he played. Steph Curry's only been in the playoffs 7 times. We're going to look at their total playoff stats. All right. Look at these total playoff stats. Look at how crazy and lopsided this is. Look how lopsided this is. Steph Curry's only been in the playoffs 7 times. Reggie Miller's been in the playoffs 15 times. Steph Curry has the same amount of points that Reggie Miller has had in 7 playoff appearances, and Reggie Miller's been there 15 times. Steph Curry has over 200 more rebounds than Reggie Miller did. And he's only been to the playoffs 7 times. Reggie Miller, 15. He has over 400 more assists. He's been to the playoffs. Steph Curry's been to the playoffs only 7 times. Reggie Miller was in the playoffs 15 times and only amassed 357 assists over a 15-year period of going to the playoffs. With regards to steals, Steph Curry's only been in the playoffs 7 times and has more steals than Reggie Miller. And Reggie Miller was in the playoffs 15 times. So, and we can go look at this right here. These numbers. And again, these numbers right here. So Steph Curry's played 112 playoff games. Reggie Miller has played 144 playoff games. And in 112 playoff games, Steph Curry has been able to amass the equal amount of points, and he's exceeded him in every other category in playing 8 less years and 8 less playoff runs. So that just tells you right there. So when players want to ask why I don't consider Reggie Miller a superstar, well, this is why right here. You didn't have an extremely high level of productivity on the court. You were strictly an offensive player. The numbers show that you were not a defensive player or did not give much energy on the defensive end. Again, your averages with regards to shooting. None of your averages beat out Steph Curry. And what makes this even more lopsided is the fact that Steph Curry shoots more field goals, he shoots more 2-point shots, he shoots more threes, and he shoots more free throws. And even though he shoots more of each, he has higher percentages. I just want to see how these guys down here want to explain this. What makes Reggie Miller a better shooter than Steph Curry? What metric are you using? It can't be percentages, all right? It can't be success, all right, because Steph Curry's had more success even without KD, all right? So what are you basing this off of? Other than you just using sheer hate and sheer bias for players of this era, and you just don't want to admit that a player of this era is better than one of your supposed superstar players of your era. You know, and this is why I say you start to label players like Reggie Miller, even players like Patrick Ewing, who never succeeded in their own era to any degree, and you want to start labeling them superstars. Now, when I say that they're not superstars, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Reggie Miller deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, but with regards to being labeled a superstar of your era, that's not for Reggie Miller. A superstar of your era, if you're a superstar of your era, you actually make All NBA first team one time. You know, if you're a superstar of your era, you actually win an MVP, like Davis and Robinson was at least able to do one time. You know, if you're even Charles Barkley, you know, like I say, Charles Barkley didn't win a championship, Karl Malone didn't win a championship, but we can label those guys superstars because they actually won the MVP award over Michael Jordan. Right, so I can give them credit for that. When we were talking about Ewing, when we're talking about Reggie Miller, you guys didn't do that. You guys had ample opportunity to do so. And so again, this is just another example. Again, another example exposing how these 90s guys are extremely biased and just don't want to admit the truth, even though the truth is thrown right in front of their face. And so even though I've presented all the numbers to them, I guarantee you we'll go on Ticket TV and these guys are going to try to say that somehow this is finessed or it's not accurate, or they're going, and not really the only thing that you can go to, you can say clutch moments. And as I clearly stated in this video, Steph Curry's 0 for 8 in the clutch in the playoffs, and he's still the greatest shooter in NBA history. Again, don't bring up invalid arguments. Don't bring up things that don't matter to try to knock a player of this era. Because to say that he's 0 for 8 in the clutch, that's you just reaching for something. Because if you can say 0 for 8 in the clutch, I can say he has 2 MVPs. You can say 0 for 8 in the clutch, I can say he's made All-NBA first team 3 times. You can say 0 for 8 in the clutch, I can say he was a scoring leader. You can say 0 for 8 in the clutch, I can say he won at least one championship without another superstar next to him. Reggie Miller had Rick Smiths, the Davis brothers. He had some good players over there. Jordan even said the Pacers were his greatest competition. Almost knocked them off their square. They still didn't get it done. You know, I give you kudos for the fact that Jordan said you were his hardest competition. I do give you kudos for that. That doesn't make you a superstar, right? Because you didn't do no superstar stuff. Even when Jordan retired, you didn't do no superstar stuff other than just get upset. Again, yeah, like I said, man, we just break this stuff down systematically, man. You break it down systematically, and then you will see that these people are just capping for their own era. Capping for their own era. And again, the reason why these guys try to boost up all of these all-stars or subpar players of the 90s is so they can continue to try to elevate Michael Jordan. This is an attempt to elevate Michael Jordan because they see, you know, again, LeBron is on Jordan's heels. LeBron has not surpassed Jordan, but he's there. And when you look at this man, you see this man he's in great shape. This man is looking like he's going to play another at least 5 years of elite basketball. And again, that may not be the case, but he looks that way. You can make a strong argument that if this man wins another 2 to 3 championships, which is a possibility because every team he played on is a championship contender, that he could potentially really be in that's a real conversation now. That's a real conversation. So again, I know you guys are trying to prop up Jordan and you're trying to save your air, but you can't do it this way because the numbers don't lie, man. We got guys like Steph Curry just blowing the doors off of them. You know what my next video is gonna be? I'm gonna compare the top players at each position from the 90s and this era. And we're gonna see what era is actually better. We're just gonna break that down. So we got the top point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center from the 90s versus the same from this era. I think you guys would be quite surprised at how that actually panned out and who it would be in favor of. But again, FYF Sports, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Appreciate all the success. And just had to drop this exposed video because again, you got people down here who like to cap for no real reason other than just hating. Again, they cap and they hate on, these guys. When you go as far as saying that a guest on Ticket TV would actually come on the show and lie about another player. This man came on the show and said some positive things about Draymond Green, but because you guys got so much hate for Draymond Green, this man couldn't, he wasn't, they accused him of not being 100% honest about what he said because he played in the NBA and he doesn't want to talk bad about his NBA brothers. No, what you saw when that man talked was you saw that man just being honest and assessing somebody else's game. And that's what I mean. No one from this era will take you guys seriously until you start making honest assessments about not just players from this era, but you start making honest assessments about players of your own era. And when you start doing that, these guys you're gonna be credible. Then when they sit down and have these conversations with you about LeBron and Jordan, so they actually might listen. But until that happens, don't expect people to listen for you when they can see, or you can easily get exposed for capping. FYF Sports, man. We out.